And this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, on this beautiful Friday, December 8th, coming to you right here from the Health and Wellness Studios, the Rock Health and Wellness Center Studios in Lubbock, Texas, and on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio and 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. Hope you guys are having a great day. This is a fantastic day, one of the best ones ever. I got to give a shout out tonight. Today is my dad's 80th birthday. So I want to say happy birthday to my dad. Went over and saw him before the show started. And I said, hey, you got any wisdom for me today? You made it all the way to 80. And he said, he had two pieces of wisdom for me. He said, number one, take care of yourself, just in case you live this long. So, and I'm planning on living that long. So I'm going to take that advice. And that's just kind of pretty much what we do, what we talk about every night, right? But this is coming from a guy who's telling the truth now. He's like, that's some good advice right there. He's trying to tell us, you better take care of yourself because you might live to be 80. And when you get there, you want to be in good shape because if you're not, it's painful. And it's very painful. So, and that was number one. And number two, um, love on your kids every chance you get. Um, it's good for you and it's good for your kids. So, all you guys out there, all young people out there, take heed for some of that advice right there. All you old people out there, call your kids, tell them hi. You know, you can call them every once in a while too. They don't have to just call you and then get in trouble because they haven't called you in a while. You're allowed to call them too. So that's just advice from my dad. Happy birthday, Dad. I hope you I can't wait to do this same show and wish you happy birthday when you're 90. So maybe we'll get another decade out of this deal. So happy birthday. Appreciate you. Love you. And I want to after having said that, I want to take just a second and apologize to our Facebook crew and our YouTube crew and our X crew because I got out of here last night and I didn't post that I wasn't going to be here, and I left you guys wondering what the heck was going on because where were we last night? But last night we had our Christmas party for the radio station, and I want to just tell a little story since it's Friday night. We're going to do the weekend wrap up show. I just want to tell a little story about how I got here, and I've told it before, but um, it relates to what went on last night. So during COVID, I was how I got actually to this radio station, not the Facebook part, but to the radio station. And last night during COVID, the, the world was crazy, right? Everybody was crazy, and I'm not throwing stones at people, and I'm not trying to be critical of anybody tonight. It was the circumstances that were going on back then, and I went it you know when you do health and wellness, you study health and wellness, and you try to figure out things like pandemics from a health and wellness standpoint. So that's what I did. I went home that first weekend and I studied that pandemic from a health and wellness standpoint and tried to figure out what could I do from a health and wellness standpoint to make sure that I was safe, my family was safe, my patients were safe. What exactly was this thing, and kind of break it all down. And one thing about living in the United States of America, and especially living in Texas, is that you should be able to have that choice to be able to do that. You should have the freedom to go ahead and say, "Hey, you, how are you going to handle this situation? What are you going to do for you and your family?" Because there's a lot of things on a daily basis that a lot of people do that are hugely detrimental to their family. There's a lot of leadership that in our from our president on down, and I'm not really that political of a guy, and so it's not just our current president. It's the president we had before, and the president we had before, and the president we had before. It's all of them. It's our governors, it's our mayors, it's our city council, it's all that stuff. It's all those people that are leaders and supposed to be leaders in the world, and sometimes they don't lead the way that they're supposed to lead. And I was feeling the heat of that during COVID, and I was getting tired of it. Quite frankly, I was getting tired of the 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 lack of leadership. You know, I started playing quarterback when I was in first grade. I spent my whole entire life as the leader of my team, and I try to lead my patients and I try to lead my family. And sometimes I let them down, but I kind of I think I know a little bit just based on my life history of leadership. And boy, I was disappointed during that COVID thing about how that thing was taking place. And I've tried to be a good citizen, and I've tried to run a business and raise my kids and stay out of trouble and 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 be a good contributor to our society. And I was getting made out to be a villain in my own town. And and so our mayor here, he had this little deal called the coffee with the mayor, and you could go sit in the morning and before work and stuff. They'd have it at a little coffee shop, or this one was at our United grocery stores, and in the coffee shop in there. And I just went to the coffee with the mayor, and then when I got my turn to speak, I just spoke my mind about what was going on, and try to bring a little bit of balance to our situation because I felt like it was unfair to all of us wellness people. And and I think that's the further we go down the road, the more that light is being um, exposing that period of time when we were kind of getting mistreated a little bit. It was unfair, the things that was happening from the whole society, the whole virus, the whole lockdown, the whole mask, the whole vaccine, the entire thing, right? And that's not it. From a wellness standpoint, I'm not interested in that at all. I'm not interested one bit in that type of. I'll look at it. I'll see if it's necessary. I'll evaluate it and see if it's something that is necessary from a health and wellness standpoint. But I'm not getting vaccinated, and I know I wasn't vaccinated, and I'm not getting vaccinated, and there's not anything that anybody's going to do other than put me in jail to make me get vaccinated. And I'm sure as heck not taking any flu shots either. I'm not doing any of that stuff because I study wellness, and I don't think that that's the best wellness option for me. If it ever becomes the best wellness option for me, then I'll take it. But I don't think that's going to happen. So anyway, I went to the show. I went to the coffee with the mayor. I spoke my mind. Of course, I was amiss. When you speak health and wellness to people that don't understand health and wellness, they don't know what to say. They don't have any defense. It breaks down in about three sentences when you start talking to them. So, and that's pretty much what happened at the show. There was no real rebuttal to it. You don't have any rebuttal to it. There's no defense of it. The whole thing was, as we all know at this point, the whole thing was ridiculous, right? So as soon as I got finished, this guy comes up to me and he hands me his business card, and he said, "You should be on the radio." And it was Victor Flores that owns 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio. And he came out and he said, "You should be on the radio." And I said, "Well, thanks. I mean, that's great. I'd love to." He told me who he was, told me about his show, invited me to come to the morning show. And and so I did. Went to the morning show the next day, I think. Went over there and talked, and basically said the same thing and listened. And while I was talking, there Ken Adams, um, who has become a kind of a friend, really, because we spent 2 years together. Every Wednesday doing half hour to health. I mean, they doing the Wellness Wednesday class on his show, and the thin line with Ken Adams. And so I ended up because Victor came up to me and invited me to go on his radio station and talk. And I ended up on Ken's show doing the Wellness Wednesday show for 2 years. And then I came right here and got my own show on the station. And now we're doing it 5 nights a week. And it all started at that coffee with the mayor when I was willing to speak my mind. and I was willing to stand up for what I thought was right, and 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 I just happened to meet somebody there. Well, last night we had the Christmas party. We didn't. Victor did. Victor and his wife Letitia, they had the Christmas party for their company, and they own several companies. Um, they own a Tri United Auto Group here in Lubbock that they spoke of last night, and that group was there. They own the Hebrews Coffee Shop, which is out at Buddy Holly Park in Lubbock, and that's where the Walk by Faith radio station is inside the Hebrews Coffee Shop. And they had all of their people there, and I don't know how many. There must have been 50 or 60 people there last night, with all of it together. And I just can't tell you how impressed I am with Mr. and Mrs. Flores, Victor and Letitia. They call her Letty, and I don't know if I know her well enough to be able to call her that, but um, I've just become so impressed with his story. He told a little bit about it, his story about he grew up in Juarez and came across when he was a little kid and came to Lubbock. And it was really funny the way he said it, because he said, growing up in Mexico, when you dreamed about coming to the United States, you always saw the pictures of the like New York City or Chicago or whatever with all the big buildings. And his parents, for some reason, moved to Lubbock. He didn't get to see all those big buildings. He got to see tumbleweeds and dirt. And that's what he said last night, which I thought was really funny. And but man, I just if Victor's listening, or if this gets back to him or whatever, I just want to say how impressed I am with him and his wife and what they do and his leadership style and his work ethic and the whole shooting match. I'm glad I got to know him. I'm glad I spoke up that day for a lot of reasons. I'm glad I spoke up that day for myself and my family, and for my practice, and for the citizens of Lubbock that try to create some balance. But I'm also really, really glad that I spoke up that day, because I got to meet Victor, and I can't wait to see what transpires in the future with our relationship and the relationship that I get to have with the people on this radio station that we do the radio program on, to allow me to just have my own show, to speak my mind, to say whatever I want to say, and speak from the truth is that's bold. That's bold, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate it. It was great. It was a lot of fun. All those other guys that are on the show, I don't, those guys do a lot of politics and all that, and they're big into that, and I'm not really big into that. I'm big into health, but I appreciate the passion that they've got, and the other radio shows that are on Walk by Faith. I really appreciate them, and I really am impressed with Victor and Letitia. I really am impressed with their whole thing. How they work, how they are, the people they are, the good folks. As far as I can tell, they're good folks, and I really am excited and really look forward to the future with them. So, thank you, Victor. Thank you, Letitia, for all that you've done for us, and all the work that you've put in to provide a platform. People don't understand how hard it is to provide a platform for other people. Like, it's not easy work. It's not easy work to be able to buy a radio station and create a team and create it was so impressive. The manager of the Hebrews Coffee Shop last night, she came out, and she's a 21-year-old girl that runs that show, and I don't know how many people they've got working out there. I know there are a bunch of students, and it's part-time and all that sort of thing, but she went one by one. There had to have been, I don't know, 10 or 12 or 15 of them. I don't know how many altogether, but she went one by one, and she pointed out all the good things that about them, and their unique styles and their unique things that they bring to the table. And she was a very impressive young lady. I don't know her name, but she is a very impressive young lady that runs that Hebrews Coffee Shop. And man, she's got a bright future ahead of her, because I know that if she could stand up and say the things that she said last night in front of the group, I was really impressed. I think she's going to do great things in her life. So that's the praise that I had for the day. Just wanted to say the shout out to all those people I'm glad I get to be a little bit of a part of that whole program. So, all of you have a Merry Christmas. Thanks for the party. It was lots of fun. It was great. It was super generous, and there's a lot that goes into that nobody knows and nobody sees, but maybe every once in a while we can say thank you and recognize it. So this week was pretty good. Um, we got to break down the Walls protocol by Dr. Terry Walls on Wednesday. And for any of you who have MS or have ever dealt with MS, and you want to get out there and learn a little bit about that, I think that it's important, and I think it's great because you don't have to have MS to learn what helped her get healthy, because what helped her get healthy was eating the right foods and protecting her mitochondria and taking her fish oil and all the things that we talk about. Those things are super important, and you can learn from those. You can take last week's Jordan Rubin book, The Maker's Diet, and you can learn a guy that had a bowel disease and changed his life and got himself healthy, and he was about to die. And then we came around with this one this week with the Walls protocol, and it was exactly the same thing. It was Dr. Terry Walls is a medical doctor who was in a wheelchair because the MS was eating her lunch, and she had to change everything, go on a paleo type diet, do some specific things to get herself healthy, and regained a lot of her function, and in some ways stopped the progression of the MS to go forward. But it doesn't matter what the thing is, right? It doesn't matter if it's Crohn's disease or if it's MS or if it's diabetes or if it's heart disease or whatever the thing is. The answer is the same. That's why this show is repetitive. It's partly repetitive because I hadn't been doing it long enough, but it's also partly repetitive because it basically just keeps coming back to the same thing, and it doesn't matter what disease process you have that you're dealing with. You can improve your health no matter what stage of life you're in, no matter how old you are. If you're a young person and you're not happy with your health, you can improve your health. If you're a middle-aged person, you got kids and ball games and all the things that you got to do, all the activities that go along with being involved in public schools and having your kids in schools, you can improve your health. If you're a 50-year-old and you're not happy with your health, you can improve your health. If you're 70-year-old, you can improve your health. If you're 90 years old, you can improve your health. So it doesn't matter how old you are, you can improve your health. And it's super important it's super important to do that, period. Yeah. So I had multiple statements throughout the week that I just thought I'd just take tonight and just address some of those statements, because they kind of scattered along in different realms, but they kind of all stack together as far as health goes. And one of the statements I had was about vitamin D, and one of the people was talking about, I don't understand why my vitamin D levels are low. I get lots and lots of sunshine. I I always am in the sun, and I get lots of sunshine, and I love to be outdoors. I don't understand why my vitamin D levels are so low when we test them. And and I wanted to share what I think might be relevant right there, because you remember there's three stages to get to that active form of vitamin D. There's the stage where you actually get the sunshine to hit the skin, and that's stage one. But that's not the active form of vitamin D. And you got to take that vitamin D, and you got to take it to your liver, and then your liver's got to work on it for a bit, and then your liver's got to take it to your kidneys, and your kidneys have to work on it for a bit, and then you get the active form of vitamin D. And that's what we where you get that. It's called the 25 OHD is where you is what happens, and that's the active form of the vitamin D. So the question to me was, why are my vitamin D levels low when I get so much sunshine? Well, we can kind of reverse engineer that and answer that question by analyzing what is going on right there. And what we can find is that, hey, maybe there's something going on in your liver, and maybe there's something going on in your kidneys. And those things can be, you need to address those situations. If your liver and your kidneys aren't functioning the way they're supposed to, then you might not be able to get that vitamin D that you're getting from your skin converted. And the we've learned some things about vitamin D over lots of years, and there's some information right here in integrative medicine that is talking about the world standard uses, um, when you look at it on your blood test, it says nmol per liter, and while the U.S. standard is milligrams per deciliter, mg/dl. So when we get it on blood work in the United States, we most likely get it in that mg per dl, but it doesn't really matter. You can convert it if you've got it to convert the mg/dl to the n mole per liter. You divide the mg/dl by 2.5. So if you're trying to get it to the other one, if you're trying to get the mg's to the nanomole, then divide by 2.5. If you're trying to convert it from the n mole per liter to mg's per deciliter, multiply by 2.5. But vitamin D is super important, right? We've talked about it lots of times on the show. And this time of year, it's vitally important because we haven't had any sunshine for a little bit now. And this is the time of year. I just want to say it again. It's the time of year where we start getting sick. And part of the reason we start getting sick is because our vitamin D levels are low. And I got into it. There's a super fantastic medical doctor in our town, and he's trying super hard to take care of people and help them be as healthy as possible. And I'm trying as hard as I can to help to take care of people and help them be as healthy as possible. But based on the information, and I've never talked to him personally about this, but based on the information that I've seen on videos and some of the things that he's posted, we have a disagreement on vitamin D, whether or not you should take vitamin D supplements or not. And I believe that you should take vitamin D supplements. And so I had to go do some research and some study about that, because some people are way bigger on cod liver oil. And so I went back and did the research and tried to figure out what exactly was going on with that and why that was the case. And where did that come from? Where did we get the idea that we should take cod liver oil? And we got it from the Norwegians. I wrote this down before, but I'm going to do it again. We got it from the Norwegians, and they found those of them that were eating cod liver in the winter were the ones that were able to handle the flu season better in the winter. And so, and I've looked at it before too. If you look at a cod, we've said this before. If you look at a cod, it's white meat, and the liver is very large. If you look at the size of a cod liver, it's very large. And part of the reason I think that it's very large is because that's where it stores all its oil. And so if you're eating the cod liver, you're eating the cod liver oil, and you're getting your EPA and your DHA, and you're getting those that vitamin D that's coming from there as well. And that's that's what kept those people healthy. Now, if you live in Norway and you're eating cod, God bless you. You probably don't need to take your fish oil, right? But if you live in West Texas, you're not eating much cod probably. And if you do, you run the risk of making sure you got to make sure it's wild caught. But hopefully you do. But you're probably not eating a lot of cod liver, if I'm guessing, and you're not eating it very fresh. So what I learned in the process when I studied my Nordic Naturals, I studied what exactly they do, and they, in the processing of getting the fish oil, the cod liver oil, they said that they destroy the vitamin D in the cod liver oil, and they have to add back synthetic vitamin D anyway. And so I think that's part of the foundational premise I have, that vitamin D supplementation is good for you. And because that's what you're doing in the cod liver oil anyway, as they're supplementing it back. And just remember, vitamin D deficiency is linked to osteoporosis, cardiovascular disease, cancer, autoimmune diseases, multiple sclerosis. That's the big one. That's what Terry Walls was talking about right there. And those, if you have any inkling that you might have any sort of multiple sclerosis, then remember your body's not mistakenly attacking itself. It's doing it on purpose. And why is it doing it on purpose? Because it's being told to do it that way because for some reason you've got your body in an environment that's incongruent with health, right? So we got to make sure that this time of year that we keep our vitamin D levels up, that we don't want deficiency when vitamin D. And approximately 50% of the healthy North American population and more than 80% of those with chronic disease are vitamin D deficient. Think about that for a second. 80% of chronic disease people. Chronic diseases are diseases that should not exist in humanity, right? You should not get chronic diseases. There's no evidence that says we should ever have a chronic disease. And if most of those people are that way, it might be because they're low on their vitamin D. It's a simple little thing you could do to increase your vitamin D levels. Hey, we're going to take a break on the radio. We'll be right back after these messages. You're listening to Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, on 98.7 Walk by Faith. Hang on, everybody out there. I'm going to check. I'm getting a few messages right here. Just want to make sure everything is okay. Yeah, we it's a super simple. The super simple thing to do is to take your vitamin D. You can come in 5,000 IU's or 10,000 IU's. You can do that. The most proper way to do it would be to check your vitamin D level, and that's a simple little blood test that you could do. We could do it for you here in the office if you're interested. By here, and we can do it for you, or you can get it from your medical doctor and get your vitamin D checked. And it's not complicated at all to do, but at least you'll know, and you'll know exactly where you should be in your vitamin D levels. And so the suggested levels of vitamin D as measured by 25 OHD3 is now this is different too. This is different in Caucasians, Hispanics, and African Americans because the skin color, the more melanin you have in your skin, the harder it is for you to get those vitamin D levels up. It's hard. It's harder for you for that to handle. Males. I was just listening to a podcast today just about COVID and what was going on, and one of the statements that were made was males tend to die. Were dying more of COVID, and African Americans or African dark people were dying more of COVID. And could there be a correlation between those two things? I do. I think so. I think that maybe you might want to um, you might want to make sure that you're taking your vitamin D to get it. But the suggested levels of vitamin D for Caucasians 125 to 175 or 50 to 70 milligrams per deciliter. But you're probably going to get it in moles per liter. I don't know. Either way, you might get it in milligrams per deciliter. You can look on your blood work. 50 to 70, Hispanics 40 to 60, and African Americans 32 to 48. And just make sure that you're getting that. The minimum level blood level of vitamin D is 80 um, moles per liter or 32 milligrams per deciliter. That's the minimum. So if you're at that milligrams per deciliter and you're at 32, I think you're too low. And so there might be something to take into consideration. Okay, everybody, we're back. You're listening to Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we're talking about healthy things. And we just got through talking about vitamin D, and I'm going to just carry that over, and I'm gonna go right into another area that I think is just as crucial to vitamin D, and that's glutathione. And if you never heard about it, it's your major antioxidant, and it's one of the most important molecules you need to stay healthy and prevent disease. This comes right here. I just happened to be flipping through Instagram this afternoon, and I saw Dr. Mark Hyman. If you guys don't follow Dr. Hyman, that he would be great for you to follow. If you don't know anything about him, he runs a functional medicine institute in Massachusetts, I believe. Very popular guy, and I've mentioned him before on the show. But he actually has this afternoon. I wanted to mention these things um, on the show anyway, and it just happened to have it right here on his page today. And so I'm reading right off of Dr. Mark Hyman on Instagram. And glutathione is one of the most important molecules you need to stay healthy and prevent disease. The mother of all antioxidants, the master detoxifier, the maestro of your immune system, right? We broke this down several weeks ago and talked about what glutathione does and how it does. It's an antioxidant, it's a detoxifier, and it helps the immune system function, right? Here are his top 9 tips for increasing glutathione. The number one on there was eating sulfur rich foods. The main ones are the cruciferous vegetables: broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, turnips, cabbage, dark leafy greens like kale, collard greens, watercress, bok choy, and vegetables such as onions, garlic, shallots, and leeks. So that was one of the things that made me so mad during COVID when they were talking about that, made me go talk to the mayor in the first place, was one of our city councilmen that was here in Lubbock, where they was trying to get everybody to wear a mask. And I think we learned by now, if you listened to Pride on Texas last week, he broke it all down for you. I think we've figured out by now it's ridiculous. That whole mask thing is ridiculous. And if you're still wearing a mask, then stop it. You're free to wear it, but it's not helping you from the virus. But one of our city councilmen said, it's just wear your mask. It's not like we're asking you to eat broccoli. It just irritated me. It irritated me from a leadership standpoint. That's what I'm talking about. It irritated me from a leadership standpoint because leaders should tell you what you should be what you really should do to keep yourself healthy. Glutathione is one of the most important molecules you need to stay healthy and prevent disease. It is the maestro of your immune system. Why would you want to not maximize your immune system in the middle of a pandemic? That's right. Why wouldn't you have your leadership telling you you should eat broccoli? Because people's like, I don't like broccoli. I don't like dying, right? I don't like laying in bed and not being able to breathe. Was it Pierce Morgan or whatever? It's like I saw a picture of him last night. He's got a little cannula on his face and he's all mad because he didn't take his next booster and he got COVID again because he took 14 boosters already. He's already had them and now he's got COVID again and he's mad about it. And it's like, hey, why don't you work on your immune system? That would be a more genius thing to do, is to work on your immune system. And one of the things you can do is eat sulfur-rich foods. And it's exactly the same thing that Dr. Walls said when she was talking about eating your 9 cups of vegetables every day. That's exactly the same thing that she said that she used in the Walls protocol to reverse or stop her MS. So you got Dr. Hyman, MD, saying the same thing that Dr. Walls, MD, says, right? And they're supposed to be the know-it-all people, right? I love those guys, by the way. Your broccoli, your Brussels sprouts, your cauliflower, those are things that are good. Number 2, crush or chop your vegetables to activate this part of them, glucosinolates, the bioactive molecule that increases glutathione enzyme activity. Stick to steaming or eating raw for maximum benefits. So that's a way that you can eat your vegetables right there. That's tip number 2. Tip number 3, eat selenium-rich foods. We need selenium to power this glutathione peroxidase. the enzyme that removes free radicals inside the cell. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that eating 2 Brazil nuts a day was enough to increase selenium and that glutathione peroxidase. Other sources include wild caught fish and grass fed beef. If these don't work, take a high quality multivitamin with the selenium methionine, its active form. So that's what the selenium is another thing. Eat foods that contain B vitamins. B vitamins are critical for methylation, which is essential for producing and recycling glutathione. We need all of them. The riboflavin is a B2 to power glutathione reductase, the enzyme responsible for recycling glutathione. Grass fed meats, pasture raised eggs, chicken, wild caught salmon, leafy greens are excellent sources. Taking a B complex or a multivitamin will also work. Just make sure it contains the methyl tetrahydrofolate, it's folate, P5P, B6, and methylcobalamin, B12, active forms. There's another thing that you can do for your glutathione. Number 5, antioxidants. Vitamin C and vitamin E are also involved in recycling glutathione. Leafy greens, citrus fruits, and kiwis are an excellent source of vitamin C. Nuts, seeds, and avocado contain vitamin E. It can be difficult to get ample amounts of these through your diet, so supplementing with liposomal vitamin C and mixed tocopherols is another option. Number 6, N-acetylcysteine. It's one of the things on my list. Take it every day with the rest of my supplements. Cysteine is the rate-limiting amino acid needed to make glutathione. You can get cysteine from eating pasture-raised chicken, turkey, eggs, grass-fed dairy products, and sunflower seeds. So, you know how it's funny and that's what I keep going back to and keep saying over and over and over again is grass-fed beef, vegetables, green leafy vegetables, grass-fed animals, wild-caught fish. Those things, eat your nuts from a tree, right? And these are the same things that Dr. Hyman's saying too. And then the last one on his list is alpha lipoic acid. Like glutathione, alpha lipoic acid, or ALA, is an antioxidant made by the body. It recycles vitamin C and E, helps with glucose metabolism, supports the nervous system, and overall liver function. ALA is found in grass fed meats, organ meats, broccoli, tomatoes, Brussels sprouts. You can also get ALA in supplemental form. And number 8 was the last one. I'm sorry, I thought, wait a minute. There's 9. Sorry, thought there was 7. Number 8 is exercise your way to more glutathione. Exercise your way to more glutathione. Exercise boosts glutathione. Start slowly and build your way up to 30 minutes of aerobic exercise daily. Brisk walking, jogging, or biking are great cardio activities to get your heart rate up. Mixing in some strength training, 20 minutes, 3 times a week, will also get your levels up. Don't overdo it though, or you could wind up having the reverse effect. And the last one is good quality sleep. Chronic lack of sleep depletes glutathione levels. Getting a good night's rest is essential for keeping up glutathione production. So thank you, Dr. Hyman, for that. All you guys, if you can go, if you don't follow him, maybe you should. If you're interested in health, if you want to know the stuff, but that's the cool thing about that. That's really one of the cool things about this whole journey that we're on together is that truth is truth, and when you speak it, you don't have to worry about it because it's truth, and it's the same truth all the time, every day. It's always truth. And it doesn't matter if it's coming from a wellness chiropractor who specializes in functional neurology, or if it's coming from a medical doctor that runs a functional medicine program, integrated medicine place, or if it's coming from a medical doctor that's just right smack dab in the middle of hospitals, like Dr. Walls, and um, it all goes back to the same truth, right? You can be healthier. We can be healthier when we eat our meat and vegetables. We eat our wild meats. We eat our vegetables. We eat our nuts. We eat some. We eat berries more than fruits, but we eat a little bit of fruits, and we stay away from that horrible thing called sugar. Right? All those things are really good for us. So one of the number 7. Let's see. Nope. Number 8. Exercise your way to more glutathione, and it just made me think about one other sentence that I had asked me, or a question that I had asked of me this week was, can I be walking too much? And I guess you could be walking too much. If you walked, 65 miles a day every single day, that might be too much. I don't even know if a person can walk 65 miles. I don't think they can. But if you're walking that much, maybe that's too much walking. But the answer really is no. That's not something that you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about walking too much. And matter of fact, remember our book, here's Spark. So what I did is I had that question presented to me, and I just wanted to go back and just say if there was some specific things that we might could talk about. And because we broke down the book Spark by, you remember John Ratty, um, and talked about how much exercise is good for you and good for your brain. So here it comes back again. We're talking about exercise your way to more glutathione. The question was because um, my lady that asked me is she's doing fantastic, by the way. She's really been made a whole paradigm change in her health over the last couple of years. And she goes for a walk, and she said, I kind of get irritated if I can't get my walk in every night. And she goes for a walk every day. But I just wanted to read some of these pages, just a couple of them. Research from kinesiologists to epidemiologists show again and again that the better your fitness level, the better your brain works. That's what you're doing for your exercise. What you're doing is you're getting your brain to work properly. Charles Hillman provided or proved that fit children score better than unfit children on cognitive tests and executive function. Fit children score better than non-fit children on cognitive tests and executive function. We might consider, whenever we go to bash athletes, we might consider that maybe we ought to hold off just a second. And maybe we should say to that, remember that? We talked about that before. Maybe we shouldn't bash those athletes. Maybe they're actually better than they would be if they weren't athletes. So getting our feet moving and getting our brains working goes together. Arthur Kramer showed that getting in shape increases brain volume of older adults. And population studies, including tens of thousands of people every age, show that higher fitness levels relate directly to positive mood and lower levels of anxiety and stress. If you're stressed out, go for a walk. That would be a great idea. If you're stressed out, if your kids are stressed out, make them exercise. It makes the brain function properly. When people ask me how much exercise should I do, I tell them the best advice is to get fit and then continue challenging yourself. If you get your body in shape, your mind will follow. And you just have to the best one, the most convincing studies use walking as the mode of exercise. So a lot of these studies, they just use walking, right? The body and the brain are connected. Why not take care of both of them? So I think the best advice to follow when he's talking about our ancestors' routine is walk or jog every day, run a couple of times a week, and then go for the kill every now and then by sprinting. That's what we've done for thousands of years, is the way we hunted, is we walked and walked and walked. We might have run a little bit, and then we had to sprint and have that high intensity workout stuff. That's what we do twice, I think probably that maybe 2 to 3 times a week of a high intensity workout, and following that with walking is really good. And when we talk about intensity, how do you know what that means? How do you know if you're in a high intensity workout or you're not? So when I talk about walking or low intensity exercise, and this is coming from the book, I refer specifically to exercise at 50 to 65% of your max heart rate. By my definition, moderate intensity falls in the range of 65 to 75%, while high intensity is 75 to 90%. The upper end of high intensity exercise is sometimes painful, but always powerful territory that has gained a lot of scientific interest recently. Yeah, I love that's why I love Greg Glassman in the CrossFit group, right? Those CrossFitters are fit people. Ever since that started is very fit. But let's go back for that for a second. I'm referring specifically to exercises at 55 to 65% of your maximum heart rate. Well, how do you know what your maximum heart rate is? Well, a very simple way that you could do this is um, if you're 45 years or older, your theoretical maximum heart rate would be about 175 based on the rough formula of 220 minus your age. So you take 220 and you minus your age, and then you can multiply that by 55 or 65%, and that's that low intensity workout. If you want to get into a moderate intensity, it's 65 to 75%, and then high intensity is over 75%. So take 220 minus your age, multiply that times those percentages that you want to be in, and that's your target heart rate, would be your maximum heart rate there, and then your target would be the percentage of it. Heart rate monitors are cheap, easy to use, and indispensable for anyone who's seriously interested in tapping the potential of exercise. There are so many things that you can do. There's watches, there's Apple watches, there's all kinds of things you can wear on your wrist. There's lots of different ways that you can find what your heart rate is and how your body's working, especially in today's world, right? Um, there's an expert in cardiovascular health, but he says the same thing almost every neuroscientist cited in these pages has said. A little is good and more is better. The best, however, is based on everything I've read and seen, would be to do some form of aerobic activity 6 days a week for 45 minutes to an hour. 4 of those days should be on the longer side at moderate intensity, and 2 on the shorter side at higher intensity. So that was part of the question, and I actually brought one of my ladies, 60-year-old ladies who's doing fantastic. She really is doing fantastic. She told me today that she was watching our board. We have TVs in the adjusting rooms and TV in the waiting room, and we run slides, educational slides on the TVs. And she was saying to me today that she saw one of there where when she's doing her walking, she could actually create some more intensity with her walking. So she's going to start trying to do that this week. The lady that actually asked me the original question when she was talking about walking every day, is that bad for me to walk every day? And it's, according to Spark, it's not. This is 6 days a week, 45 minutes to an hour. 4 of those days should be on the longer side at moderate intensity, and 2 on the shorter side at high intensity. So I think that's good. I think that's good piece of advice right there. We can walk. We can walk, and it does. The walking is actually good for our brains, which takes me to the article that I found for today. That was kind of all kind of fits together, right? This is an article on PubMed, NIH, National Institutes of Health. You still got to go there, even though some of it's crazy, right? But it's a news release, Wednesday, March 15, 2023. Visually navigating on foot uses unique brain regions. Occipital place area supports visually guided navigation, but only when walking, not crawling. That's and I brought it up because there's a place in your brain using vision to efficiently move through an area by foot uses a unique region of the brain's cortex, according to a small study funded by the National Eye Institute. The region, called the occipital place area, fails to activate during other modes of moving, such as crawling. The finding may help explain the developmental milestones as children learn to interact with and navigate their their environments. The study, published in the journal Cerebral Cortex, NEI, that's the National Eye Institute, is part of the National Institutes of Health. What I thought was just super cool about this was it is an article that's talking about walking activates your brain, right? Not crawling, walking. Now, crawling is super vital for the brain, and crawling is a very it's a milestone. It's something that needs to be done with children in order to get their brains to function right and fire right and create all kinds of neurological responses from crawling. But it's just interesting how what they found right here by using functional MRI, they were able to determine that there were two main areas. The two main areas of the cortex are activated as people navigate through an environment. This OPA, this occipital place area, and the retrosplenial complex, the RSC. And that doesn't matter because it's just part of your brain, right? But this PhD at Emory University in Atlanta theorizes that each of these areas supports a different kind of navigation. The RSC supports map-based navigation, which involves finding our way from a specific place to some distant, out-of-sight place. For example, finding our way from your house to your favorite restaurant. By contrast, he believes the OPA, the occipital place area, supports visually guided navigation, which involves finding our way through near environment, avoiding boundaries and obstacles. For example, moving through your kitchen without bumping into things. So, how cool is that, really? Um, how cool is it that walking through your kitchen into your bedroom or whatever, into your living room, activates one type of your brain, but actually mapping out and going someplace where you have to, like, I got to get from here to the store and back, that mapping out activates another part of the brain. And that's what one of the things we always talk about from the beginning of this show is how do you keep your brain healthy? You keep your brain healthy by being social, by walking, by getting your eyes up and moving them back and forth. It's been a few weeks since we've said that, so it's nice that we were able to say it again. Those are things that are very important in the way that your brain functions. So walking just helps. Walking helps aerobically, walking helps your brain, walking activates your brain, getting your eyes up when you go walking. And for heaven's sake, please do not take your phone when you go for your walk and read your phone. If you're going to take your phone because you want to be safe, that's fabulous and all that sort of thing. Just put your phone in your pocket. Put your phone in your back pocket or in your coat pocket and don't look at your phone while you're walking. You are defeating the whole purpose of walking. You're getting neurological power by standing on your feet. You do have receptors in your feet, knees, and hips that do fire up into your brain. It is important that that happens. But this article is trying to say to us that by using our eyes, we can activate our brain. And by going through this, what's interesting in the test is while what they did that they says to test this, the scientists recorded videos from the perspective of someone walking through an environment, and then similar videos from perspective of someone crawling through that same environment. They also patched together a random shot of the videos, scrambled, and took the videos from a flyover in the environment perspective to include a mode of navigation not accessible to humans. When viewing the videos, our brains often activate as if we were performing the activity ourselves, a sympathetic response that made the experiment possible. Using functional magnetic this functional MRIs, the researchers were able to monitor the activation of the brain regions in 15 adult study participants as they were viewing each video and imagining themselves moving through the environment. Visualization of it was how they did it. They showed them videos while they were doing an MRI. When the participants viewed the walking video, the region of the brain corresponding to the OPA was activated. But when they viewed the other videos, crawling, flying, or scrambled, the OPA was not activated. In contrast, the RSC was activated when the viewing all the videos. suggesting that only OPA is specific for walking as opposed to other modes of visual navigation. So, actually going for a walk is vital when you want to um, get out there and get your brain to function properly. Going for a walk is super important. So, hey, that's the end of the show. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Hope it goes your way. Bundle up if you're in Lubbock. It's supposed to be cold tomorrow. And we will see you guys on Monday night at 6. So have a great weekend and happy birthday, Dad.